How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be featuring the Stalingrad, the legendary tier Russian large cruiser. I finally maxed out my Ivan BD Lightful so we can make use of his unique skill that gives you 8% grouping, 8% dispersion, but also makes your detection worse by 8%, which is why we have a 14-kilometer detection, which is actually worse than battleships at the same tier. It's, I'm not gonna lie, kind of painful to be spotted further than battleships are, and on top of that, all the changes they made to Stalingrad so you saturate slower. So basically you're just taking full damage longer. I feel like I've had many games where I was at like half HP but still eating full pens in the superstructure after being farmed for quite some time, which does get rather annoying and kind of attributes to why I kind of prefer Alaska, mainly because, well, Alaska gets more heals and the heals do quite a bit. They are like arguably super heals for a cruiser. I mean, obviously not like Minotaur, but the amount of HP you can recover is pretty ridiculous. And then on top of that, Alaska also gets a gimmick 32 bow because bow in reverse is the style of play that the devs thought we were going to use, and for the most part they do, but I feel like they do because they have the opportunity to. Henry IV, I have no idea what he was doing. He was just sailing in a straight line, and well, 2 salvos in, 5 citadels later, he is dead. I have no idea what happened to my shells on this Yamato, and unfortunately, he figured out how to angle. We do have to worry about one more ship because Schlieffen came over from the middle, and the only thing that spawned here was the Yamato and the Henry, and well, using our radar, knowing that there's something in B and the destroyer at A was spotted, yeah, it's probably a cruiser that's here, although we have no idea where that cruiser went. It could possibly be an enemy Jinan that is also in this match because he could just keep spamming torpedoes while undetected, so we kind of have to stay relatively passive here until we figure out what's going on. Yamato is just trying to reverse all the way to the border. Schlieffen pushed in. We can't really leave because there is Jinan threat if it is a Jinan here, although we haven't seen any torpedoes, and when we radared we didn't catch anything except the Henry, so we really have no clue what's here. So we're just going to farm this Yamato with HE as much as we can, and then once Yamato's dead we'll see if we're still spotted because we do have a 14-kilometer detection, and if we're sitting here, Jinan will need to torpedo us, and I don't think Jinan actually has torpedoes that go further than 14 unless they do some kind of torpedo build, although I don't really think it's worth it to do that because, I mean, Jinan's main guns, the fire rate, fire chance, all the above is just a lot more reliable. Yamato still reversing away friendly Yoshino, helping me farm the Yamato. I'm pretty sure oh, never mind. I thought Yoshino wasn't spotted. I guess he was spotted by the Alaska and probably got nuked. Our Musashi that spawned with us is dragging his feet trying to push in. And yeah, I mean, kind of taking a while. There's also another battleship that came from the middle and is also quite far behind. We pushed in so early and, well, we're still very far ahead of them. Yamato on fire and about to go down. Once he does die, we realize we're not spotted, and our detection was actually all the way out because we shot the Yamato. And when Yamato died, we went unspotted, so we know there's nothing here, so we're free to push out. Enemy Schlieffen, angled, but not angled enough for Stalingrad. Stalingrad has slightly improved pen angles, and well, all those shells land short. And unfortunately, we're not able to get a citadel. I don't know what it is. Both Yamato and Schlieffen were broadside. We were given an opportunity to get some pretty important citadels on battleships so we can push in fairly aggressively, but then our shells either just disappear or don't even hit the target, which does kind of suck. We duck behind the island just to try and get another angle on the Schlieffen. I was kind of expecting him to beach on that island, but he actually does make the turn. Also going behind his island gives me a little relief from eating Schlieffen's secondaries, and now that he's bow in, his secondaries can't really shoot. I mean, one secondary shot, but it's not his whole armament firing at me, setting me on fire. especially charging in as aggressively as I am. The Alaska being there as well, who is also shooting at us. I'd kind of rather not take so much focus fire, especially because there is an enemy Z-52 running down our Shima, and I'm sure I'm going to need to use this last radar in order to find him, because if I don't, then, well, Yoshino and our 2 battleships don't really have a chance either. Enemy Alaska B trying to reverse away, sort of. He ended up stopping and not reversing. I'm not sure if he was worried about Shimakaze torps, because the Z-52 did fight our Shima, and Shima did get spotted. Alaska showing enough broadside, and we did do a pretty good chunk of damage, showing the improved pen angles that Stalingrad has, which is pretty nice. Alaska still pretty stationary, so we target his bow. And fortunately for us, we do get a bunch of penetrations. I was expecting either ricochets or overpens, but luckily for us, Stalingrad is able to get it done. But notice, we are spotted, even though there is basically nothing on the map that has been spotted, and everything has basically died. It's not the Z-52 that's spotting us. If he was in front of us, then we would still be spotted at this moment. Z-52 was last spotted in our spawn. There's actually a cruiser that spawned at sea. Not really sure what he did for the entire match, but we'll find him much later on. And yeah, we're just checking the scoreboard because we do know it's either a Jinan or a Donskoy, so our assumptions were sort of correct, although we didn't see any of Jinan's torpedoes while we were pushing in. And after we killed Yamato, our like 20-kilometer range, we went unspotted. So we don't know exactly what spawned there and where it went. We can only find out once the enemy team, or sorry, enemy cruiser on the other side gets spotted or dies, which he's YOLOing 2 battleships. Obviously, both of the cruisers left alive have torps, and we find out that it's Jinan. Jinan dev strikes one of our battleships, and he kills the other. Sorry, it wasn't 2 battleships. This is 1 battleship and a cruiser, but he killed them both. He dev struck one of them. Kind of tragic that a Jinan just did that right on top of their forehead when, well, Jinan can be overmatched. We radar, kill off the Z-52, and now Jinan alive at A. We have 4 kills, opportunity for a Kraken, but after Jinan got that double strike, Jinan is also on pace for a Kraken. So now it's a 4 kill versus 4 kill player who gets the Kraken, although Stalingrad in this situation, unless the Jinan is on top of my forehead and is able to basically just YOLO me, I'll pretty much just get one shot with my front turrets, so I'll just have to overmatch him through the bow, if anything. And, well, hoping for the best. I don't think a Jinan is going to kill all of our team, although considering Jinan's detection, I think it is possible. And, I mean, who knows where the enemy cruiser is. Still not spotted, hasn't shot yet. Donskoy doesn't even have great detection, so we have really no clue where he's gone or what he's been doing. But we're just going to go charge at the Jinan, see if we can get some resets and help us get a little more XP, but also secure our Kraken. Our intuitive pointing in the direction of the Jinan, so we're going to keep our guns right on the island just in case he is very close. Although Yoshino's been pushing in and hasn't spotted him. We get around the corner, Jinan gets spotted, dispersion looks decent, and we are able to score a Citadel while he's trying to turn away, and we secure our Kraken and a Confederate. And then now you see our intuitive flipping behind us, basically all the way to the top right corner. And yeah, that's pretty much where the Donskoy's been the entire match. I feel like he was probably AFK, had to answer the door, take a dump, something that caused him to not help his team. But at the same time, you'll see later, he is actually playing. I'm gonna just go ahead and fast forward here because we just simply cap. And actually, you know what? No, I'm not gonna fast forward. I can take this opportunity to talk about the build. So the build, BD Lightful, Like I said, we maxed it out finally, 8% grouping and 8% dispersion. We do have reload mod in the 4th slot. I thought about using range mod again for the 3% dispersion, but the 2 inspirations that I decided to use are Scharnhorst and the BA Commander Sarika, the one that we can use on Brest. That commander's inspiration is 3% dispersion and 3% reload. Honestly, for other builds, I may consider using Sarika over Scharnhorst, mainly because Sarika does 3% dispersion and 3% reload, so you're trading off 1% dispersion for 3% reload, specifically for cruisers. So kind of a interesting pick for something like Alaska or large cruisers that you kind of want to get your reload down on while also getting some accuracy. So yeah, but the thought behind this build was to try and get dispersion as good as possible, trying to get it as close to air quotes cruiser dispersion. I mean, we have a 2.4 sigma and just the 1 unique skill for the 8% sigma or grouping buff. You end up at 2.59 something. So I mean, you're basically at 2.6, which is where I think Stalingrad started. Almost where Stalingrad started. But yeah, so now we just went with full dispersion just to try and get the cruiser accuracy. Kind of the thing I wish Stalingrad had was cruiser dispersion with this high sigma, just so we could have some fairly consistent guns, rather than having like one salvo of shells touching and then the next is basically a shotgun, which pretty much happened in our last Stalingrad video, and it does kind of suck. And I mean, we've gone through our gripes about all of the incoming fire dispersion debuffs that this game has. Aside from concealment mod giving 5%, camos do it. Camo does 4.5%. So I mean, if you really think about it, if you just had aiming systems, you're already getting a -2 dispersion, just because there's so much incoming fire dispersion debuffs. And then if they decide to use commander skills, if they actually decided to stack it, I'm pretty sure you could end up with like -20, 25% dispersion, which, I mean, definitely doesn't help things that don't exactly have the greatest accuracy, and more so battleships. But Stalingrad, on the other hand, at least it has a high sigma, so there's a chance that your shells do go where you aim. Donskoy finally gets spotted. We were just shooting, trying to charge where the indicator was pointing, and we were only spotted for a few seconds and then went unspotted as the indicator flipped to the right. So we knew that he started playing and started going towards the objective. So that's why we turned hard in rather than going to the top right corner. I was kind of hoping the Donskoy was just trying to go and get caps for XP after not playing for the first 14 minutes of the match. And, well, kind of hoping he was going to turn broadside. Unfortunately, he just like went stern in and parked. And, well, I probably should have switched to HE a little sooner. But I was hoping for him to turn broadside or something to either use torps or just simply end the game sooner. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't switch to HE soon enough, and there's not exactly a whole lot of time left on this match because, well, we reached 1,000 points before the timer expired. Kind of unfortunate. It was an opportunity for a 6-pack. Couldn't quite get it, although we did get a Confederate, so I have no clue what we got an assist on. But yeah, Stalingrad 4k XP, a lot of it due to getting objectives, but also dev striking a lot of cruisers, and yeah, I don't know. Stalingrad having a little more accuracy, I mean, it's still pretty trolly, i.e. shooting the broadside Yamato and Schlieffen. Not quite what we wanted, but then somehow Alaska gets nuked. We can hit G9's Citadel through the stern. Not really ideal. I mean, I would have liked to have Citadel those battleships. But yeah, getting accuracy that still sort of trolls us for a lot worse detection. yeah, I'm not really sold on it. I mean, we did finally max it out, so maybe I have to keep playing it. But the experience so far, having 14-kilometer detection, which is now worse than legendary tier battleships, not the best experience. And then whenever there's some matches where there's a DD just simply spotting you, a lot of the time your radar is way too short to actually catch something in 14 kilometers, which does suck more often than not. So you kind of have to hope for domination or something with objectives, otherwise you're kind of cooked. But anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more, and share with your friends, or leave a comment down below for other ships you want to see in the future. But anyway guys, till next time, aloha.